Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing something a little bit different but still scary. We're going to be talking about a Russian serial killer named Alexander Yuryevich Pichushkin. So give me grace because Russian names are hard to pronounce, and without further ado, let's get started. Alexander Yuryevich Pichushkin was born on April 9th, 1974. He was raised in a seemingly stable household led by his stepfather, mother, and two half-siblings. Neighbors always remembered Alexander as a very kind and sociable boy, until at the age of 4 years old he fell off a swing set and had a very terrible head injury. His behavior significantly shifted after this, being bullied at school and called names for being mentally challenged. He also began to show no normal empathy for animals or other people. His mother wanted to take him out of school and place him in a school that was fitted for kids like him, but his grandmother fought against it because Alexander had special gifts. He was very gifted at chess, which his grandfather taught him and took him to small competitions. Sadly, his grandfather passed away when he was 15, and whatever control he had over his impulses went away with anger and grief. Bitsa Park, where he grew up and played chess, was still his personal sanctuary. He began playing there almost every day, always with a bottle close at hand. He also started to threaten and beat up other children at the park. What makes it even stranger was he would record those instances and watch them back later. He began to be more motivated and inspired by Russian serial killer Andrei Chikatilo. Alexander's goal was to kill as many people as there were chess spaces, 64. He opened up about this to classmate Mikhail Otachuk. They were both 18 at the time. Mikhail jokingly went along with Alexander's plan to kill a stranger, of course not realizing that Alexander was serious. When Alexander realized that Mikhail was not going to follow through with it, he murdered him on July 27, 1992, making him his first victim. There are mixed reports of how this murder took place. Some say by hammer, some say strangulation. He was brought into questioning by the police, but he denied involvement and was let go. Olga, his ex-girlfriend, had broken up with him later that year and left him for one of his best friends. He then visited his friend before allegedly throwing him out of the window of the apartment complex to his death. This death was ruled a suicide by police, after Alexander was brought in again and let go. Pichushkin also later claims to have murdered Olga, but police have not confirmed this. Nevertheless, he would stop killing for almost another decade before resuming in his former location escape, Bitsa Park, in 2001. At the age of 27, he targeted an older man at the park with the offering of vodka. As the man continued to drink, Alexander told the man that he had buried his dog somewhere in the park and offered if he wanted to go visit it. They walked to a secluded part of the park where nobody would wander by accident. There, Alexander pointed out the spot where he claimed to have buried his dog. And then, without any warning, Alexander struck him with a hammer. He then dragged the body and dumped it in a park sewer. In just 8 weeks, Alexander took the lives of 9 people, and shortly after claimed 5 more victims. Despite the fast killing spree, no one could catch him. His targets were mostly homeless, people with little to no family ties, whose disappearances often went unnoticed and rarely reported. Many of his victims were also elderly, making them easy targets as well. The approach, like many other serial killers, was the same every time. Offer alcohol or cigarettes, befriend his victim, then tell them about his fake deceased dog. He would proceed to hit them multiple times with a hammer and dump their bodies into the sewer. Back then, the law required the police to wait 3 days before officially recording someone as missing. Often because of the victim's status and no immediate reports, these people were just vanishing. Alex quickly reached the chilling milestone of 20 victims, but after that, his pattern shifted. In February 2002, he attempted another murder, this time targeting a woman named Maria, who was reported to be a few months pregnant. Maria had just finished an argument with her boyfriend and was crying at a metro station when Alexander approached with kind words and offerings. While befriending Maria, he learned that she was in financial trouble and offered his hidden cameras in the park that she could sell for money. The typical order continued. He hit her multiple times in the head and put her body in the sewer. But something different happened with her. She survived. She was dazed, bleeding heavily, and nearly passing in and out, but she managed to swim out of the sewer and walk to a hospital. When the doctors saw her, they immediately realized she had been attacked and called the police. However, when the police arrived, they asked for her paperwork, and then Maria couldn't offer it to them. They realized she was living illegally in Moscow. They then offered her an insane, disgusting resolution that if she promised not to tell anyone she had been attacked, they would forget about the paperwork issue and let her go. Sources even say one officer insisted that she sign a statement claiming she had fallen into the pit by herself. Are you kidding me? Pressured by the fear of being deported and with no other options, Maria went along with it. The sewer area wasn't even checked by the authorities. Over the following 2 weeks, Alex claimed 3 more victims. He tried to attack a 13-year-old boy, but the kid managed to escape. Terrified, he ran straight to the police and reported that a man had tried to kill him. The officers once again ignored this story. They proceeded to tell him to go home because they could smell cigarettes and alcohol. At just 13, he could have been in trouble for that by itself. By May 2005, at around 40 victims, Alexander was seemingly bored with his routine and liked the thrill of being caught. Or maybe he wanted some fucked up recognition for his murders. A thought process that is followed by a lot of serial killers. So, instead of hiding the bodies in the parks, wells, and sewers like he usually did, Alex started leaving them out in the open to be found. He also changed from his previous pattern and started pushing objects like bottles, branches, or anything similar into the victims' heads. At the time, he was called the Pizza Park Maniac. It seemed that authorities were finally starting to take him seriously and began searching Pizza Park, but its size deterred them. To put it in perspective, Pizza Park is roughly 6 to 7 times bigger than Central Park. Around 2005 to 2006, the police believed they had caught the murderer who was carrying a hammer in their bag. But after a thorough investigation, they realized they had the wrong person. However, still several news articles had already published that the infamous serial killer was caught, but that only made Alexander furious. He couldn't stand that someone was getting credit for his work. On June 13, 2006, he asked his co-worker, Marina, if she wanted to take a walk in the park. Marina hesitated. Everyone knew now that the area was dangerous, but since she wasn't going alone, and because he was a man, she let her guard down and agreed to go. However, before leaving, she left a note at home explaining that she was going with Alexander to the park if something happened, and wrote down his phone number as well. When they got to the park, Marina even mentioned the note, explaining that she didn't feel safe. Alexander froze, but inevitably killed her anyway. When Marina didn't return home, her son went straight to the police station with a note tracing back to Alexander. They eventually found Marina in the park with a bottle in her head and a metro ticket in her pocket. That led police to request the metro camera footage that confirmed Marina had left the station with Alexander to head towards the park. The police, however, again acted with insanity, and instead of going to arrest Alexander, immediately waited 2 days to just call him on the phone, where he denied everything, even meeting with her, which they had obvious evidence was a lie. Still, the police did not act with intention. They did eventually go to his apartment and arrest him. When he was originally brought in, he denied everything, but after seeing the metro footage, he confessed. When asked why he killed, he said, "Without it, life had no meaning." In total, he claimed to have taken the lives of around 63 people, just one short of filling the chessboard he kept at home, which he used as a reference to mark each new murder. But he admitted even if he had completed the 64, he would have kept going. Many bodies were then found, and some never found, with others being so badly decomposed they couldn't be identified. Officially, authorities were able to link 49 victims to Alexander. Toward the end, he deliberately was acting careless in the hopes to get caught. He was proud of what he did and even reenacted some of the crimes for police officers. He also admitted to feeling sexual feelings when killing, similar to an orgasm. Alexander went on trial in September 2007, and it dragged on for 46 days. During this trial, he was kept in a glass cage for bystanders' protection. He was proud of committing murders and admitted that he wanted to be Russia's biggest serial killer. He was so proud, he pleaded to be convicted of all 63 murders, not just the 49. In the end, he was convicted of 49 and 3 attempted. He was sentenced to life without parole at Polar Owl, the maximum security prison named House of Serial Killers. The first 50 years were to be served in isolation under constant supervision to prevent suicide. He also, like many serial killers before him, have had women admirers even offering to marry him. That is where he remains to this day. So he was entitled the Chessboard Killer. My final thoughts on this, and I have a lot, was the whole thing with the accident. That seems to be a theme, you know. For so many serial killers, it seems to be a theme, like something awful happened to them in childhood, whether it is an accident like this or some kind of abuse in another situation. You have to stop yourself from having empathy for these people because they did awful, awful, terrible things. The fact that at first his killings were like the most vulnerable people, homeless people, elderly people, like what a wimp, what a baby. Imagine going after someone who's so helpless, who you know you can do things to, or you're hoping you can do things to without other family ties, tying into it, people looking for them. It's so disgusting on so many levels that it's just so nasty. Order in which he did things was so weird, with like the, oh, my dead dog is buried in this public park, come see. Now maybe Russia's a little different. Why are you burying your dog in a park? I think that's illegal, at least in the United States. That's illegal. And then the fact that this seems to also be a thread with these serial killer murders is the police don't do their job. There were 2 victims that escaped by some grace of God. You have 2 different victims, and number one, she's illegally living in Moscow, so now it's like you just push all that to the side. Let's say, even if that wasn't an insane thing to ask of her, you go check out the fucking sewers, right? That's just so insane to me. And then the little boy, again, like, they're finding petty excuses to not do their job. It's just insane. And even when they, like, Marina, I believe her name was, Marina left the note, like, at least she did all of that. I think from what I understand of the story, that's the reason he even got caught. But he was being so reckless, leaving the bodies everywhere. Like, he wanted to be caught. He wanted to have praise for being this nasty of a human being. It's like unfathomable to me, but like that's something that makes these stories so interesting, is because I and probably the person watching this could not fathom that these people are doing this. How could people do this to other people? It's absolutely insane. So on that note, that concludes today's video. I like to do these. I like to do these little deep dives. I think they're really interesting and fun. There will be a ghost story video coming up. If you guys want to check that out as well. I'm trying to see the vibe of what everyone likes. So let me know in the comments, and let me know if I missed anything of this story. I did some research, but this is one of the reasons I picked this story instead of like a Ted Bundy is because I never had heard of this, and it's not notoriously talked about, and for that reason, that's why we talked about it. So okay, I will see you in the next one.